am Lillian McMorris, and welcome to the Lillian McMorris Show. We're here to entertain you, to inform you, to tell you about nonprofit organizations, their events and programs, whatever is happening right here in Southern Nevada. We also like to highlight people that are making change or a part of change within our communities. About 6 months ago, I met a man who was very, very honest. And the love and respect that I had for him once he was finished with his presentation was immeasurable. And then later on, I met the same person, not in uniform. You're going to meet him in a minute. Not in uniform, but he looked like a little kid playing outside. And he looked at me and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" He said, "Oh, you don't remember me." Please welcome Undersheriff Kevin McMahill. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I think I had to tell that story because it's a part of you. It's a part of community policing. And that's something that you totally 1,000% believe in. Because you were out there playing with the kids. And no one knew you were there. You were really the undersheriff. I mean, it was like, oh, dirty T-shirt. And the other officers were telling me, "You see his skinny legs?" I mean,
they are skinny.
But I'm going to get to that because it's so important that we're able to distinguish the person out of the uniform. And you do that well. 25 years of experience. Tell me where it all started.
Well, I mean, I'm just a person, just like everybody else, right? I mean, I was actually born in Gardena, California. I grew up in Colorado, graduated from school just outside of Denver, raised by a mother and father. My father was a Denver firefighter for 33 and a half years, and my mom was mostly a homemaker. I come from a family of 5 children and joined the United States Army and then joined Metro in 1990 and worked my way up to the top of the enlisted ranks since.
Okay. And I know you get this question often, but I'd love for you to answer it again. Your title is Undersheriff. What exactly does Undersheriff mean? I know that you are second in command and you get to oversee the day-to-day police operations, but Undersheriff?
Yeah, it's got some funny connotations, I guess, if you're outside of law enforcement.
Right.
It just simply means I'm the number 2 individual on the police department. I think probably more important, though, is that it means I get to drive a lot of the programming that occurs within our organization.
Okay.
Really set the tone. The vision of our organization is to be the safest community in America. That's very difficult to achieve, and you have to have people with unbelievable drive at the top of an organization so that the people are motivated, empowered, and inspired by those leaders to get behind them and really focus in on reducing the violent crime, which is our single biggest issue, I think, here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little later, your vision and reducing the violent crime. Bringing you up to these ranks in the 25 years, what other areas have you worked in?
I literally have worked just about everywhere. I spent the vast majority of my career in a patrol function. I spent the first 10 or 12 years working various aspects of patrol, from training officer to community-oriented policing officer, a variety of different things, mostly in, actually pretty much all over town. I've worked in narcotics, internal affairs, spent a significant amount of time in Homeland Security. As a supervisor, I pretty much supervise every aspect of the organization at one point or another, and today, obviously, I supervise all of it. So I really had a pretty extensive and well-rounded career, and it's given me an opportunity to really see a variety of aspects of what this career means and the fact that cops matter within communities. I will say to you, though, that one of the most rewarding parts of my career, I think, was being the captain over there at Bolden Area Command, because it really changed, I think, in part my own mentality about policing. And, I was a pretty good cop in my time. I could hook and book with the best of them and arrest and incarcerate and investigate. And I came to a realization probably around the 18th year of my career that it doesn't really make a significant difference. As many people as you put in prison, there's a never-ending cycle there, and it really doesn't go to address the systemic issues that cause some of the problems that we have. And so what I really focus on today is having our police department and our police officers get their own feeling about these issues, right? Because I can tell people to go do things all the time, but unless they really feel it and believe it themselves, they're only going to participate in a very shallow manner.
So how do you do that? I know that you talk to the new recruits when they come in.
I do.
know you talk with the seasoned officers who already have their mindsets. So how do you get them to think? Because that's what I want to talk about in our next segment is community policing. And that's a different thought pattern. So how do you do that? How do you get to them?
Well, today I think it's a lot easier than it had been in the past, no doubt about it. But I go back to originally, I didn't tell any of them what I was doing while I was the captain in Bolden. I just went out and did it.
Okay.
And pretty soon they heard that the captain was out and engaging and doing a number of things that were maybe controversial at the time and a little bit different at the time. Developing partnerships.
Why is he out there doing that? Or he's supposed to be in the office.
Yeah. Well, I mean, traditionally, that's how captains did it, right? You went in the office, it was the guy you didn't want to go talk to, the principal at the school, and those kinds of things.
You go talk to the captain, you were in trouble.
Pretty much, yeah. So, but now I think it's caught fire really within our organization, and so we made a mistake a number of years ago of making community-oriented policing the responsibility of a squad of people at each individual area command. And we still have that because you have to have people with some of the responsibility and the ability to actually spend the time, as you well know, how much it takes to organize develop some of the fantastic things that these officers have done throughout our community. But the reality is that community-based policing, that community engagement responsibility lies with every single one of the men and women that don this uniform day in and day out.
And I want you to hold that thought because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, as I forestated, we're going to talk a little bit more about community policing and reducing the violent crime. I want to talk about that because there are ways that I know you instituted, and like you said, a bit controversial, but you were out in the community doing it and talking to the people that you knew that had something to do with it, but yet let's make it all good. Let's turn it positive. Let's do it a different way. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll come back and talk about that. And later on in the conversation, I want to talk about your vision, what you foresee. Since you're the man in command and oversees day-to-day operations, especially our new recruits that are coming out, especially those. And I know we have lots of seasoned officers who have their own thought patterns, but they're changing. And that's what it's about. We're talking to Undersheriff Kevin McMahill. We're talking about our community and community policing, making a difference in our community, not being afraid of the uniform because there's a person in that uniform. For more information on Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, go to lvmpd.com or simply give them a call at 702-828-3111. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back. The Lillian McMorris Show is produced by Tego & Associates Productions. Multi-camera shoots either in our studio or on location. That's Tego & Associates Productions. Give us a call at 702-509-7728.
You know your business could really benefit from a great mobile app. Being accessible on mobile devices everywhere can take you to new heights of audience interaction that will improve sales, service, and your customers' overall experience of your experience. Thankfully, we're here to help. We can help you build a beautiful mobile app and mobile website. Rely on our expertise to handle everything from start to finish affordably and professionally. Contact us for a free demo to see what an app for your business would look like.
And welcome back. We're talking to Undersheriff Kevin McMahill from the Las Vegas Police Department, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And being in policing for 25 years and making a difference in our community, not just in the job and in with the people that he has to work with, but actually out in the community. And I am so happy that you do that. It makes such that you did that and you still continue to do it, but it makes such a difference. And then the collaboration between various organizations and the police is not like police over here now, organization. It's not like that. You actually combine and collaborate and do things within the community, specifically in the Bolden Area Command.
I wouldn't say specifically in the Bolden Area Command because while I would agree with you that that's where it certainly started, the beauty of where we're at today and the ability to drive that programming from my position now is that is a fabric of each and every area command today. We have 8 of those area commands, and I think one of the important things to talk about from the community policing perspective is that when you look at the events that are occurring today across the country, whether you talk about Ferguson, Missouri, or North Charleston, South Carolina, or Baltimore, or New York, and the list goes on and on and on, the reality is that if your viewers would Google any one of those police departments and go to their webpage, every one of those police departments will have on their statement that they're a community policing organization. And, part of the challenge I think that we have is that sometimes in policing, we have this culture that's very slow to change. And we fool ourselves just a little bit sometimes, right? What we did for a very long time worked very well. And the difference today is that when you go into any community to police, you have to actually listen. Right? We were really good at saying,
Right.
You have to follow this law and you have to do these things. And
you got the tone.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier, about that tone of voice, and of course that whatever it takes when you put on that uniform, it's different.
Right.
But what you have done is let people know there's a person in that uniform.
True, but as importantly, and sometimes even more importantly, I guess, we've also made our cops understand and got them to understand that it didn't matter what neighborhood or what color of the person what it was that they were interacting with, that they were a human being first and foremost.
And we all want to go home safe.
Every last one of us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which side of the equation that you're on, you know. And so, as we continue to grow and evolve collectively towards really beginning to understand one another, I'm talking about the police department and the people that we police.
Right.
And that we're willing to listen and to open up our minds and engage one another and be willing to accept criticism as well as, give constructive feedback. Not destructive feedback, but constructive feedback so that we all have an understanding. Because the last thing that anybody wants is to live in a society that is lawless, that doesn't have an effective police department.
We have to have you. We have to have police. I mean, there is no question about that. The question comes in with the way that it is done. Before we get into reducing the violent crime area and the safe village, I want to tell a little story. I think I saw the best picture of community policing. The other day I was driving I was behind a police vehicle on a street in front of a playground at school. And all of a sudden, the lights came on, little beep, beep, not the whole full siren, beep, beep. And I said, okay, I'm behind him. How are you stopping me and I'm behind him? That was my first thought. Well, what did I do? I'm behind you. And so I stopped. One of the non-driver policeman got out and he had this long baton with him. There was a basketball that was wedged under a car across the street from the school playground. He stopped traffic, got the ball out, held his hand up, walked across the street, and threw the kids back over their ball, and they all gave him high five through the fence.
That's good.
And I thought that was just the most picturesque of community policing. And I thought about it, I probably would have took my phone because everybody videotapes everything now.
Sure.
But I was smiling and I was so happy to see that. And he got back in the truck and they stopped the lights. So I kind of sped up, which I knew I should have got in trouble. And we got to the stoplight and I let them know. I said, you know what? I just want to say to you that this was so picturesque of what we need in our society now of community policing. thank you.
That's good to hear.
And they were just so happy. They were smiling, and they said thank you. And, we both went our own separate ways, but it's something you don't forget.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not surprised to hear that though, because for every horror story, and I get a lot of good and bad that comes up to my office, and I can tell you the good far outweighs the bad.
Thank God.
And that just tells me that the men and women of this organization are out doing, for the most part, the right thing.
The right thing,
Yeah.
right. I need to share, and I did. I actually texted the captain and told him and told him the license plate number of the truck, and what they had done, because I thought it was just outstanding.
Good.
I really, really did. Let's talk a little bit about Safe Village.
Yeah, so I guess that goes back to that initial point that we talk about, where in 2006, Safe Village was started by then Captain Schofield, and really they started a program which was focused on reducing retaliatory violence, and it was the beginning of involvement with the faith-based. And so they would go out subsequent to a shooting, respond to the hospital, respond to the families, and work on reducing that opportunity for retaliation.
Okay.
And it worked for very well. It was a national program, started in Boston, and we duplicated it here. And by the time I got over there in 2010, we were still doing the same thing, and it still would work for retaliation shootings, but it wasn't reducing shootings.
Okay.
So we still had a very high number of shootings, and I went there and stood over my 13th homicide victim, all being young dead black men, and I'd gotten tired of hearing from community members, from my police department, from my detectives, and even from my own self, to be very honest with you, that there was nothing that we could do. And so really decided that everybody had a responsibility to reduce the violence and reduce the amount of people being killed. And so, in a nutshell, because I know we don't have a lot of time.
No, I'm gonna
but the
stop
reality
you
of it
right
is,
here,
okay.
actually, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about reducing the violence and reducing the violent crime.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you that opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, we're talking to Undersheriff Kevin McMahill from Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. You can go to the website, lvmpd.com, or simply give them a call at 702-828-3111. We'll take a little break. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about reducing violent crime and what his vision is for our community. And welcome back. We're still talking with the Undersheriff, and I wanted to continue the conversation relative to reducing violent crime, and then kind of get into the Undersheriff's vision for our community. You were talking about the reduction of violent crime. You got tired of standing over dead bodies and trying to figure out why. What can we do?
Well, what became really important is that I had this realization that that tired old mantra of investigation, arrest, and incarceration was an absolute and abject failure. And while it's particularly important for cops to be good at focusing in on problem people in problem places, we had to face some facts. One of those facts was that we policed minority communities differently than we policed other communities. The truth is that every time there was a shooting in West Las Vegas, our traditional response was that we would go and we'd send as many possible cops as we could into that neighborhood.
Yes.
And we would stop everybody for everything. And any violation, you would go to jail. And the community came to expect it. The cops came to expect it. But it didn't change the reality.
No,
it didn't
just made
change
it more negative, actually.
Sure. In fact, it did. In fact, what we were doing was creating enemies out of the very people we were really trying to protect.
Right.
And so in a nutshell, what I came to realize was that we had to engage people in an entirely different way. And we had to make people feel like they had a responsibility for this violence problem that they had always looked to the police to resolve. Because issues of homelessness and unemployment and underemployment and addiction and fatherless families and all of the other social ills and failures that have occurred fall at the feet of the police department. We deal with all of those things.
You have to.
So what we needed to do was to bring people to the table. And what I realized was that as a police captain, I had a tremendous amount of power to ask people to come to a table, and very rarely did they ever tell me no.
Right.
And so when I did that, and I started asking, I would ask some of the people that I believed had a responsibility, the housing authority, the hospitals, security companies, nonprofit organizations, governmental organizations. And then we decided to do something about it. And I think the most fundamental change was that we meet all these years later, every Monday, 3 o'clock in the housing authority chambers. And it's a problem-solving meeting. It's the Safe Village meeting.
You talk about all the challenges that are going on, and then come to some positive.
They do something about it.
Conclusions.
Whether it's bed bugs,
right?
Hey, listen, I mean, it's things that are real quality of life for people. That say, hey, I couldn't get my air conditioning fixed.
Right.
So you say, housing, how come that's not fixed?
Right.
Or police officer stopped somebody and give him a citation and he didn't deserve it.
Right.
Officer, why did you do that? And we had an opportunity to listen and engage one another in ways that we had never really done that before. And it had such dramatic effects that for the first time in the history of us recording statistics, West Las Vegas had always led in every negative category. Every gang, the top of the gang violence, the top of the shootings, the top of the stabbings, the top of the narcotics, the top of the prostitution. And for the first time in all of those 25 plus years of measuring, West Las Vegas came off of the top. It's not even in the top 3 anymore.
Wonderful.
And so the mentality of a change.
Mentality change of policing. Exactly.
And listen, the final thing I have to say about that is you're very nice to try to give me credit for it, but I just happened to be a captain at the time. There were other captains before and after me, as you well know, Gary Schofield, Larry Burns, and a number of others, Will Scott, who's over there now.
Right.
They all were mature enough and they all understood community enough that these things mattered and they need to be nurtured and fostered and grown so that they can become what ultimately is shown now to be a national model for how you change particularly difficult neighborhoods.
That's exactly what you've done. Is this your vision, or what is your overall vision ultimately?
Well, listen, Sheriff Lombardo is a huge supporter of these efforts. He gives me that ability to go out and make sure that we have an opportunity to really hopefully change fundamentally those neighborhoods that we have identified over the years that have always been at the top of our hot spots. We have a responsibility to be involved in things that traditionally you wouldn't believe the cops would be involved in. Hope for Prisoners is a good example.
Exactly.
We have a mentoring program of police officers for returning offenders. Those are things you don't find cops doing across the country.
And another thing I love is with the new policemen that are coming out of the academy, they go into the schools, like the elementary schools and the middle schools, and they spend time with the students. And it all starts out on street clothes. They just go and they make friends. They help them with homework. They help them with basketball, baseball, whatever sport that they're doing at the time. And that at the end of that tenure that they're there, they come back in uniform.
Sure do. Sure do.
And see, and that helps our young people remember.
And it helps my cops understand. Those are beautiful things at the end of the day, right? They see these kids as people.
And the kids see them.
And the kids see them as people. It's a win-win all the way around, you know. And if you ask me my vision is that anybody who's watching this, our police department rarely says no. If you can find a way for our organization to participate in whatever it is that needs to be done, rarely do we say no. It's got to be legitimate. It's got to be on the up and up. It can't even be, remotely shady, because we are law enforcement.
That's
but
true.
we do participate.
But it is community.
Yeah, we do.
You know, and I love, you know, some of the things that you do, like at the Doolittle Center, like at the Edmond Town Center.
Sure.
I mean, or we've got a lot of things that are coming up with the kids, and just getting them involved and having them not being afraid of the people who wear that uniform. Because what used to be when we were growing up, the policeman was your friend. That was your friend. That's who helped you cross the street. That's who helped you carry your bags. That's it, you know, and then all of a sudden it became a negative.
I don't even like to get a cop behind me. I'm the undersheriff. It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel good.
Listen, I mean, that's a natural reaction.
I mean, you heard what I said. You put the lights on and stuff, like, oh, I'm behind you. Why you stop me?
Well, that could have been your driving, though, Lily, and we both know that.
Well, I want to thank you. I thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
time and being here and kind of enlightening us. And as things come up, as they change, as they become remotely maybe off balance, and we know we can bring them and we can let the community know, I would like you to call and come back and
You
just
bet.
let me know. Say, hey, Lillian, I got something else that we need to do. We got to stop this right now. We need to let the community know. I'd like for you to do that.
Yeah, my word, I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
are speaking, or we're speaking to Undersheriff Kevin McMahill from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and you can go and find out more about their programs and what they are doing in our community at lvmpd.com, or simply give them a call at 702-828-3111. There have been loads of changes within our community when it comes to policing. Community policing, bringing down the averages of shootings, bring down the averages of crimes within the 89106. And we are so proud to be a part of Bolden Area Command and spreading that throughout the entire valley of Clark County. And we thank you for heading that, having that vision, having that dream, and just keeping it moving.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? And we also want to thank our sponsors, and that would be Cox Communications, Tego and Associates, Larry Hart with the Heartland Mansion, Paragon Gaming, as well as the Venetian Sands Corporation. And let's not forget Old School 105.7, where you can hear Inspirational Moments by Lillian McMorris every morning in the 6 o'clock hour to start your day. I'm Lillian McMorris. This is the Lillian McMorris Show, and we'll talk to you next time.